Hello and welcome to your all new Wednesday workshop. My name is Ali Larkin and I'm your host for today's call. As per your email instructions, you'll all have pen and paper with you to jot down questions or notes, and you'll be sitting somewhere quiet and comfortable. So each week we're going to have a new theme, which I will spend 60 minutes talking about in the first instance. And then for the last 30 minutes of the call, I'm going to have an open floor for hot seats. Now, don't worry if you've never been to one of my workshops before or never been on any of my group coaching calls before and you don't know what a hot seat means. It just means that you've got an opportunity to ask questions one-to-one with me at the end of the call. So my advice to you would be, as I'm speaking in the first 60 minutes, if any questions pop into your body, just write them down or write down notes, and then at the end you can pop the questions in the Q&A, and I will pick someone at random to come on and do a hot seat with me. There's two ways in which you can have your questions answered. You can choose to put your question in the Q&A form in text, the Q&A box in text form, and I will just read out the answer and read out the question and answer it to the best of my ability. Or you can choose to come on and speak to me one-on-one, still with your cameras off, but I'll just ask you to unmute yourself and ask me the question with your voice so that I can hear also the vibration of your voice, the frequency in which you're vibrating at, what's really, really going on with you, what's the question behind the question. So if you would like an opportunity to chat with me for 30 minutes in real time about anything that I mentioned today, then please just write your question in the Q&A at any point in the call, but I will only look at them in the last 30 minutes. My preferred way to do it is to have a really, really good energy exchange with someone on the call. So I would prefer to talk to you one-on-one, but I understand that some people are a bit shy. They might not want to have their voice on the internet or anything like that. They might feel a bit nervous about asking questions, especially on some of the subjects we'll be going through going forward. So there's two options for that reason, but just do please note that if you do decide to come on and speak to me while your cameras are turned off and we can't see your face and your name won't be revealed on the YouTube video, your voice will be on the video. If you would prefer to still do that energy exchange with me and speak to me one-on-one, but you don't want your voice to be put on the video, then all you have to do is just drop me a little note in the Q&A box to let me know that, and I'll make sure that your voice is also taken out of the video. But what I do want is people to, on YouTube, to have an opportunity to hear me open coaching, open channeling, having an energy exchange with people who come and ask questions, because I think it's really, really powerful. But the tech wizard, Sarah, has got a way of taking your voice out and just having text box up. So don't worry if you do decide to come and speak to me one-to-one and you later change your mind and decide you want your voice off the video, we can definitely accommodate that. So please note that these videos will be posted on my YouTube channel weekly, a few days after the call. The calls will be every Wednesday, 90 minutes long, 60 minutes of me open channeling, chatting about the theme of the week, and 30 minutes Q&A at the end. So to start off, this week's theme, which is really, really, really apt for what's actually happening today, is this week's theme is what got you here won't get you there. And first of all, I'll tell you a bit about how the themes come up for me for any of these discussions, any YouTube videos that I create, and any posts that I create. While in meditation or just while walking about my everyday life, while doing the dishes, while out walking, while in the sea, in a bath, any of these things, I'll quite often get what happens is I call it dropping into my body, where a complete sentence will drop in from something outside of me. So my job is to interpret the imprints that I get in my body. And a couple of weeks ago, when I first heard what got you here won't get you there, my interpretation of that was, yes, right, okay, I've got a theme for my first Wednesday call that I'm going to do, where I'm going to go into this call and I'm going to do 90 minutes of group coaching, and it's going to be open to the whole world. And the 10-year-old version of me that loves to be praised for being right and get all the validation for being the best of the best, she was like, yeah, so what we'll do is we'll do the thing that we're really good at, and we will do group coaching, and everybody in the whole world is going to be able to see how good you are at group coaching, at coaching one-on-one in a group setting. And then I came to the realization that that message that I'd heard, which is the theme, which is what got you here won't get you there, was not just for the people that I'm speaking to today. The message was also for me. And that hit me like a ton of bricks about a week later. And I'd already got on a call and with my colleague, and I'd told her, right, I'm going to do this call on a Wednesday. It's going to be amazing. I'll open the floor for coaching. And then a week later, I got on, or a few days later, I got on a call and I was like, right, here's what the format's going to be. And it completely changed, completely and utterly changed. And she was like, that's not what you said the other day. And I was like, yeah, no, because the information keeps coming to me more and more as I meditate more on it. And what got me to here, this version of me that runs a successful coaching business, is I have always been, I'm not going to say I've always been, because that would be a complete lie. My first couple of coaching calls, I was a nervous wreck, but I very quickly realised that I had a very natural talent for one-to-one coaching and one-to-one coaching within a group setting. So I would take someone on for a hot seat and I would coach them one-on-one, which I'll be doing at the end of this call, at the end of this session. I would do that in the company that I worked for and within my own business. And I had a natural talent for it, and I was very good at it, and I earned a lot of money doing it, and I had built a very successful business doing it. And about 6 months ago, I started hearing a lot through my body, you're being asked to evolve. And once again, the narcissist in me thought that this message was for everybody else on the planet and not me. And I was saying it to all my clients, saying it to my friends, saying it to everybody. You're being asked to evolve. You're being asked to evolve. And then I was like, oh, also you too, Ali. So what does that evolution look like for me? Well, in the first instance, it looks like this call is not the usual format that I do. It's nothing like the usual format. Anytime I've done any sort of group setting, I go on the call, I speak for about 3 minutes by myself, and then I'm like, right, let's get to the thing that I'm good at, and I rush into it. I rush into it because I feel so nervous and such a beginner at sitting and being the person that's delivering the message just on my own. Like I need, it's almost like all this time I've needed these other people for me to bounce off of, or for me to have an energy exchange with, rather than just sitting here, standing up on stage, wherever this path takes me, and just being the person that actually delivers the message, rather than delivering it through the medium of one-to-one coaching. When a couple of weeks ago, when I figured this out, and it took a couple of days, as it usually does, where I was like, oh, the message is primarily for me. What got you here won't get you there. I knew instantly when I came to that realization that I could no longer have that format that I used to have, because it only got me thus far. It only got me here. It will not get me to the next stage of evolution that I'm looking for. And that next stage of evolution is to be able to deliver lectures, deliver seminars, deliver speeches on all the things that I've learned about people over the past 6 years. And when I first began on this journey, especially in the spirituality side of it, one of the very first things I saw in meditation was me standing on stage speaking to thousands of people. Now, this could also be symbolic, like obviously YouTube is a stage, social media is a stage, although sometimes I do worry that it's going to be an actual stage talking to thousands of people. And I was horrified the first time I saw it. I was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. Anybody that's ever done any work with me, anybody that's ever attended any of my group coaching sessions will know that the story that I tell, that the reason why I no longer no, the reason why this is what I do on my YouTube videos, and then Sarah cuts it out. Like I do this and then I go, nope, not that, don't say that. So I need to get used to a stage where I can't say that. So if you've ever done any sort of group coaching with me or any one-to-one coaching, then you know the story that I tell about why I don't like being on stage and why I don't like talking and why I have this. It's not that I don't like talking, by the way, I love talking and I could talk for Scotland, but I don't like talking by myself. Is because when I was 15, I'll quickly tell you the story about how the PTSD that I've got from public speaking. When I was 15, I was studying Spanish and French at St Columba's High School in my hometown in Greenock, and I absolutely adored my French and Spanish teacher. And she asked me would I deliver a speech at the international evening that was being held in the school a couple of weeks later. And I was so mortified, first of all, and absolutely terrified because I'd never done anything like that before. But I absolutely loved this woman, and I wanted her love and validation and praise and all of these things. So of course I said yes, and I practiced my speech for weeks, and I wrote it all out, and I would practice it, and it was to be delivered in Spanish. And I invited my mum and dad along, and I was so pleased. And on the night of the international evening, the school theatre the stage was at the bottom like this, and all the seating went up, in the movie Gladiator, that's what it was like. And in my head, when I think back to it when I was 15, so like nearly 30 years ago, that's also the magnitude of it. It was like there was thousands of people, and there absolutely was not. There was, less than 100. And the lights were really, really bright, and I was standing on stage. And when I walked out onto the stage and I looked up, out of all the faces, I just saw my mum. And she was sitting, and she was quite short, and she was sitting on the leaning on the desk in front of her. The way they had these like little desks because we used to do our exams there as well. And she was like this, ready for me to come on. And I went on the stage and I was like, hola. And my mind just went completely blank. And I was like, just standing there staring at my mum, thinking, I don't know what's happening here. And thankfully, and the coincidence of this is always just amazing for me. The head of the modern languages department was called Mrs. Larkin, so she had the same surname as me, and she actually had the same name as my mother. And she whispered from the side of the stage, "Mi amo Alison," like that. And I was like, oh, and I just went, "Mi amo Alison," and just went into the speech that I'd practiced, and I was fine. That whole stage fright lasted about 5 seconds, and it affected me for decades. And because of that, like I always reference this, or this thing that happened to me, and I built a persona around it. I can do these things, but I can't do that. And the reason why I can't do that is because of this thing that happened to me in childhood. And by the way, if you've been following my stuff for quite some time, you know that far worse things happened to me in childhood than that day on the stage. And I overcame all the other things, but somehow this was the thing that I couldn't overcome. So over the past couple of years, I've dabbled in putting out YouTube videos and putting out information that way. The great thing about recording the YouTube videos is I sit down, I press record, and I bumble my way through the first 20 minutes, and then I make mistakes because we don't usually use those words in my circle. I have challenges with some of the stories that I tell where I go down tangents and I come back up again, try and pull myself back up again. And then the very amazing Sarah edits out all the parts where I lose myself in the story and can't bring myself back. And the difference with this is I'm here live in front of a crowd of lovely people, and any mistakes that I make, even although they could be edited out of the YouTube video that's going to go up afterwards, they can't be edited out live in real time. We've not yet reached that level of AI. I don't know if we'll get there where I could just go zip and then delete what I just said in real time. So this is a whole new evolution for me, and that this thing that I've been hearing for the past 6 months of you're being asked to evolve, which was primarily for me and then for everyone that I shared that message with, is for me, I have to evolve past past that little 15-year-old girl that made that mistake on stage and the 1990s. I have to show her that the only way to evolve past that fear of stage fright is actually to potentially have stage fright again, is to potentially get on these calls and make mistakes and bumble over my words and lose my train of thought and go down a tangent and then have to bring myself back again. And I decided last night when I was thinking about this that I'm not even sure if I actually said it to anybody, that, oh, if I go down tangents, could you pull me back? Like, could you write in the notes, this is the thing that you were talking about? But I'm like, right, how did I get onto this subject? And the only way that I'm ever going to overcome that, and the only way I'm ever going to overcome the fear of it and get better at it, get better at public speaking first in this domain, and then hopefully one day in a public arena, is to do it. And so the theme of what got me here won't get me there is huge for me at the moment. One of the ways that I've been putting it towards my clients recently is it's just a recoding of the program. So the program that I created in my computer system of my mind up until a few years ago was, Ali doesn't do public speaking, and I like to talk about myself in the third person when I get into these states, and it's like, well, why does Ali not do public speaking? Because of this thing that happened to her when she was 15, and it gave her such a fright and put her in such a state of fear that she could never do it again. Okay, but Ali also wants to deliver messages to the whole world. So how is she going to do that without getting involved in public speaking? So that over there, this person that I want to become, this dream that I have that I want to fulfill, this version of me sitting here today is taking baby steps towards her. But the baby steps that I take towards her look very, very different from the version that kept me safe up until now. That is the version that said, no, that's I don't do that. That's not how I do that. I don't do that. We don't do that here. I don't do that. I had to completely rip up that playbook and start again and become a person who speaks live on camera in front of a room full of people, so that one day I could speak live on stage in front of a room full of people. And I don't mind telling you that my palms are sweaty, my heart's racing. I've paced up and down this apartment more times than I care to remember. I've done all my steps. I haven't yet been outside today, and I've reached my activity goal on my Oura ring because I've been pacing about so much. This does not feel comfortable to me, but the only way that it is ever going to feel comfortable is if I keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's one of the major blocks, the major hurdles that I see all my clients always have for the past 6 years, more so than ever before in the past year, that they have desires, they have a desire for a different life, and then they're all powerful, all wise, amazing body will bring towards them, and the 3D reality that is our life will bring towards them, and it brought towards me an opportunity for you to let go of the vibration of the frequency that you were vibrating at, the frequency of fear for me, and move forward and start vibrating at a level that actually attracts the life that you desire. A few weeks ago so in my program, we create a thing called the Morning Manifesto, and it's a public declaration. We don't do it in public, but we do it for ourselves. It's a declaration of the desires that we are manifesting into our lives. And the way that we do it is, first of all, we write our dream life down in written form. Then we speak it out loud to someone that we love and trust. And then the third step is we record it and we listen to the recording every day as part of a morning ritual. For the past 5 or 6 months, every morning I've been listening to my morning manifesto. And one of the things that it includes in the morning manifesto is Ali hosts a weekly group session that is attended by hundreds of our followers. every day I listen to that, I'm feeding that coding into my subconscious. I am reprogramming my subconscious mind from Ali, the 15-year-old that vowed she would never step on stage again, to Ali, the evolved version of me who wants to deliver messages to a bigger audience. Every day I've been feeding that into my subconscious programming. I've been recoding the program until eventually, in a place of meditation a few weeks ago, I heard, okay, let's start the call. Let's start this Wednesday call. I always knew it was going to be on a Wednesday. Let's start this Wednesday call, and I don't know what it's about. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's just go with it because you've been listening to this every morning for 6 months. So the first instance of the call was, of course, the safe version that got me to here, wanted to keep doing the thing that she gets a tick for and a gold star and the straight A student and the top of the class, and having been praised for my one-to-one coaching, especially in a group setting for the past 6 years, I was like, okay, we'll just continue doing the thing that I'm really, really good at and just do it in front of a bigger audience. A week later, when I heard the theme and it was what got you here won't get you there, I was like, okay, then what does that mean for me? Because what got me here was the one-to-one coaching. And then I got on a call with my colleague and I said to her, but I can't stand on a stage in front of people and coach them if there's thousands of people in the audience. Like, how can I do that? Or indeed, if there's thousands of people listening to me on a YouTube channel on a weekly live call, I can't speak to all of them. So one-to-one. So how do I just speak to all of them in a way that I am able to do, that I am able to convey the messages that I hear through my body for the people that are there, because that's the service that I have come to bring to the world. And I knew that the next step with that was going to be something that pushed me out of my comfort zone and that I wasn't going to like it. And that's the biggest key that I could give you to the next evolution of who you're going to become, to your next level. The version of you that got you to here does not feel comfortable with the next level because they're here and they're safe. And all right, there's some challenges, there's some problems here. You hear the whispers of the person that you want to become, of the things that you want to have, of the life that you want to achieve. But there's this version that got you to here that's like, no, this feels safe, this feels comfortable. And every next level of you has always required a next level of you. And what we do is we are so good at keeping ourselves safe that we forget about the fear that we had before when we went from one level to the next. So when I went from the level of me who was a beauty therapist for a long time. I worked in a beauty salon, and I was a lash tech, so I did lashes on all the lovely ladies that came to see me in the salon. And then I had to give that up to become a coach. And that's what I said at the start of this chat, was that the first few coaching calls I got on, I was terrified. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here, especially when I went through a coaching program, learned how to coach properly, and started charging more money than what I'd been previously charging in another life when I had a low ticket fitness app that ladies paid $9.99 a month and they got chat to me on the app. But now I was going into a one-to-one setting with people and I would be charging what that was worth. And I was so nervous and so scared that I would make a mistake, that I wasn't good enough for this, that I wasn't going to give them what they'd paid for. And then very quickly realised that I had this really good natural talent for it and stopped becoming afraid of that. But I forgot that I was afraid of that in the first instance. And then when the next level was required of me, which was when I went to work for a company who asked me to group coach their clients, I was the same again on the first group coaching call. I paced up and down my living room for hours before it. I was like, oh, I'm going to make a mistake. This is going to go wrong. That's going to go wrong. I was just so in my feelings about everything, and got on the call and I was shaking and my hands were all sweaty, and I mean I would dread to see that first call back again, and then gradually got better and better at it, got more and more relaxed. the past couple of weeks when I've been organising this call and doing these talks live, I forgot about the version of me that had all the same symptoms before getting on those first calls, the first one-to-one call that I did for my own business, the first group call that I did for the business that I worked for. I completely forgot about her, and I was like, well, I could, if I make any mistakes in the first couple of calls, then I can always just go back. I can just go back to doing group coaching, one-to-one coaching in a group setting, and then having to, tell myself over and over again, this is what you're going to be doing. This is the next evolution. That you can't become the next level of you until you let go of the level of you, the version of you that got you to here. You have to let go of her. And another thing that I've been hearing while I've been meditating and I've been pondering on and contemplating for the past few days is everything is always moving. Everything in the universe is constantly moving, is constantly vibrating. And as humans, our consciousness is constantly doing this, right? It's contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding. And what we want is we want expansion, right? We want it to do this. We want our consciousness to constantly be expanding. We want higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of awareness as we go through our lives. And I read a book the other night. It's called He by Robert Johnson. By the way, I've read this book more than I've read any other book in my life. It's a mythological story of Parsifal and the Grail King, and it's the mythological interpretation of the book. He is Robert Johnson explains how it relates to masculine psychology and masculine evolution. And one of the points he makes in the book is if your consciousness does not expand, it has to contract. And as soon as I read that bit, and I've read this book so many times, but I sometimes get a little nudge to go back and read it again. And I'd had it for a couple of days, and I opened it on my laptop, and it's a very, very thin book, so I read it in one sitting. And as soon as I saw that line, I was like, that's why I come back to this book. If we're not expanding our consciousness, then we are being asked, then we will automatically have to contract. But we are always being asked to expand. Okay, our soul's always been always asking us to evolve and expand. But our ego will cause us to contract if we don't evolve and expand. So what does that look like in real life? I'll tell you it from a personal point of view, because I think personal stories always explain it better. About 18 months ago, I started to hear something when I was in bed at night, just before I fell asleep. I always call it, you hear a little whisper just before you fall asleep, or when it's just you in the back of your eyelids, it kind of taps you on the shoulder. And I had heard this command through my body of something that I had to do. And I did not like it at all whatsoever. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to know anything about it. But I knew that I needed to change this particular thing. And I would lie there for a couple of weeks. I lay there in bed, and I could hear it. And I could hear it when I was going about my day, when I was, doing the dishes or out walking or on the beach, or whenever I got into a meditative state, a state of flow of being in my body, then I would hear this sentence. And it frightened me. It was asking me to become more evolved, a more evolved level of consciousness than the one that I was currently at, and I didn't feel strong enough to do it. So looking back, and we always join the dots backwards, what I did was I contracted instead of expanding. And the way that I contracted was, and it's really, really obvious to me now, it just wasn't obvious 18 months ago, was I began to, first of all, my diet changed. So I began to eat more sugar in my diet. I began to more rely on, oh, I'll just have a glass of wine when I was out for dinner, out in a restaurant or something. I'd be like, yeah, I'll have a glass of wine. I began to rely on that more. I began to look forward to it more. I began to spend a bit more time scrolling on social media. I began to I do this thing, and apparently I heard on a podcast recently that it's like an autism trait that people research a lot of things. I call it researching, where I'll go down Wikipedia rabbit holes with things, and I found myself on my phone a lot researching ridiculous things that I didn't need to be researching, and I would be on websites reading strange things, and I, looking back now, I'm like, I was spending a lot of time numbing myself, specifically with the sugar. Like I can look back and I can see that my diet just changed slowly, but it did change. Even the things that I was baking, the things that I was cooking, like the ingredients were changing. They were becoming more and more what I would term now as low vibrational, which is a lot of processed foods and a lot of sugar. And I had to find other ways of not looking directly at this thing that I was being asked to do. And eventually what happened was the world round about me just got louder and louder, and until there came such a time where I could no longer ignore this thing that I was being asked to do. And I've had this conversation with a lot of my clients recently where I'm like, if you have a desire, and we all have desires every day, we all desire something, okay? Even if it's a desire, I want to sleep late tomorrow, or I want to wake early tomorrow, or I want to go to the gym on Friday, or we're constantly have something that we are desiring, and something that we want to create that is different from the status quo of what we currently have. I had a conversation with one of my clients recently where she said, will I never be happy? Will I always be wanting more? And we are creative beings. We are all a fragment of God, who is the creative energy that created every single thing on this planet. So we have the creative energy within us. We have the creative source of God within us. And we will constantly be creating not just our everyday lives, but our future lives. So first of all, we'll create them in a vibrational frequency. We'll create them by thought. They'll come from the subconscious to the conscious mind, and then we will make choices and decisions, and we will bring them from the world of thought into the physical reality in front of us. We'll bring them from thought into matter. This is the God energy that's in all of us. It is a God-given energy. It is beautiful and wonderful. We are constantly being asked to create more in the world and serve more in the world. We can touch on the problem that arises when you're not happy in the process of the creation, which is a completely different thing from not being happy and constantly wanting to create more. We are creative beings. We are always going to be creating something. Now, that something could be joy-filled or it could be misery-filled, depending on our conscious awareness of what we're doing and our ability to read the world round about us as we go about our day. So if we're constantly creating, we're constantly evolving and expanding. We're being asked to do that. My belief is that we're being asked to do that by the energy of God that we carry inside of us, that God knows the way. God knows what we're here for. There's a bigger picture. It's written in the stars before we get here that there's a divine, glorious path that we can all walk down. And it's wonderful. Along the way, there will be a purification process of everything that we picked up along the way to get to here, to get us to the day where we realize that we are God and that we choose our path. And along the way to that, we have accumulated thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, habits, programming, coding that has made some parts of this glorious path less enjoyable and less beneficial than other parts. So there's a purification process that happens. And what happens is you desire something from a place of contrast. We all desire something from a place of contrast. And that, let's call that thing there. Okay, the thing that we desire, it's over there, and we are here. So the first thing we do is we notice the contrast. We become aware of the contrast. So perhaps you live in a country that you grew up in all your life, and then you've got to a stage where you realise it's not your place, it's not your bit, as we say in Scotland. And your desire is to move to another country or another state or another place, and the country that you live in. And the first way that you'll notice it is through contrast and the status quo. Say, let's, for instance, say that it rains every day where you currently live, and you desire to live somewhere where it's sunny and warm, and you currently live in the middle of a city and you desire to live near a beach. The first way that we become aware of that contrast is quite often we don't like the things that we see. So we don't like the rain, we don't like the city, we don't like the traffic. We might go on holiday, go on vacation, or go and spend time in another place and think, actually, I feel this would be more suited to me, another city or another part of even the place where you live at the moment. Like you go and visit friends that live near the beach, and you're like, oh well, I would like to live here. This is more me than what's happening currently. That is your subconscious tapping you on the shoulder, telling you that you feel better here than you do. You feel better there than you do here. The first step is the contrast. It's the I don't like this. And what's on the opposite side of I don't like this is I like this, I prefer this over here. So I don't prefer this, I prefer this. Okay, so that's the contrast. It's the very first step, and it's a really, really important step, because if we can become aware of that, then we know that something has to change and something has to evolve. The problem that we have with that, or the challenge that we have with that, is we are hardwired for safety. We want to stay safe. We are afraid of fear. And fear is the unknown. Fear is the uncontrollables. Fear is the things that we've never done before and never tried before. Fear is trying something and failing. I always tell my clients, you're not afraid of failure because you've failed at lots and lots of things. I've never met someone that's not failed at something in their life. You're afraid of success, huge amounts of success, because in particular parts of your life, if you've never had those huge amounts of success before, we're more afraid of the unknown than we are of the known. Although we have these patterns of behaviour that lets us think, oh, Ali got stage fright when she was 15, so what if I get stage fright again? That's not my fear. My fear is, what if I don't get stage fright and I got really, really good at this? And what will that mean? Who will I be if I'm really, really good at this? Who will I become if I have to eventually stand up on stage in front of tens of thousands of people? I don't know who she is, so I'm more afraid of the unknown than I'm afraid of the known, because I know the version of me that got stage fright. I know the version of me that's nervous to deliver talks in this way. I know her, she's comfortable. I feel quite safe with her. What feels uncomfortable is this new confident version of me that will get on stage and walk out confidently and talk to thousands of people and be okay with it. That's the unknown. So this version of me wants to keep me here. So she feeds me with all the stories of, well, you could just do the call like this, or you could just do it like that. And that's the same for everyone. We feel the contrast, and then we have an opportunity. We either expand into the next level of consciousness, or we contract. So what your ego will do in the first instance when you feel the contrast is, I'd really like that house by the beach, but we can't afford it. We can't afford a house by the beach. I don't know how I would do that. I don't know how I would afford to get a house over there when it's twice the price of the house that we're currently in. So your ego will feed you little stories to keep you safe, because what happens is, if your desire is for a bigger house on the beach and it currently costs double what the house that you live in, your soul knows that you have the capacity to get that house on the beach. It knows you do. It knows that there's something in your life somewhere else, your business, your relationship, all of these things, that is also being asked to expand so that you can manifest in the physical reality that house on the beach. And all of these things as well. There's a whole other layer to this, and I do realise that I've actually been talking for 45 minutes, which is quite exciting for me, because I didn't think I'd make it this long on the first time doing this. That there's a whole other layer to this as well. It's not I want the house on the beach, or I want the nice car, or I want the promotion in work, or I want the 8 figures in the bank. It's how do you want to feel when you have these things? Like, what is the symbolic nature of this? Now, the house on the beach, and that's always been my dream, as a literal dream. I used to dream it as a little kid. A house on a beach overlooking on a hill on the beach overlooking the ocean. What's the feeling that having that house would evoke in me? Okay, so I own the house. It's in a warm country. It's by the sea. I can go to and swim in the sea every day, all year round. I've got a garden I can sit in. So what are the feelings that's evoking inside of me? Peace, calm, security, safety, success, affluence, wealth. What is the emotion that I'm looking for with those things? Well, the emotion of all of that is joy, love, lack of fear. Okay, so there is love and lack of love, and we call lack of love, we call it fear. So lack of fear is love, unconditional love for every um situation that we find ourselves in. So can I vibrate at a frequency of joy and peace and unconditional love before I have the house on the beach? Because here I don't have it, there I do. What got me here won't get me there. So how do I get there? First of all, in a vibrational frequency, and then get there in the 3D world. This is what I mean about you have to love the journey, you have to love the process. And our ego doesn't love it. Our ego is afraid of it. And fear looks like many things. It looks like it can placate you. It can say you don't have to have that house on the beach. You've got this over here and you're quite happy and you don't have to do those things. That's for other people. That's a dream for someone over there. It can look like anger. How come they've got the big house and I don't have it, which is also envy. Your ego will try and keep you safe in whichever way possible. And it's important to understand that it's very loving towards you. Your ego is very loving towards you, and that's why it's trying to keep you safe. It thinks it's saving your life. And also, it's got the same role as the soul. It's just the soul feels a lot better. The soul journey, the glorious path feels a lot better. But the soul and the ego are two sides of the same coin. And it's like God and the devil, okay? It's like it's the polarity, the paradoxes that is apparent everywhere in this reality we live in. You can't have your soul without also having your ego, because you cannot have life without contrast. Your ego has to tell you what you don't want so that you can hear your soul telling you what you do want. And the hardest part, the challenge of it is that you have to let go of this version of the ego, and then another one comes up anyway. So it's always going to be the same. The next level of you will get to the next level. You will be, I always say this to my clients, you will either walk to the next level of consciousness or you will be dragged kicking and screaming. And as someone who's been dragged kicking and screaming on numerous occasions, I can tell you it feels much better when you walk there, when you decide of your own intention, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And it's going to be scary, but I'm going to do it anyway, which is where I got to a couple of weeks ago with this call. Like when in the first instance I've said here, when I was like, oh, okay, this is great. I can go and talk to my clients and the wider public about you need to let go of here to get to there, and then realizing that it was for myself and sitting with it for a couple of days and being like, no, I don't need to do that. Like I should just do the thing that I'm good at. I'm really, really good at that, so I should just keep doing it. And I come up with all these wonderful reasons why I should keep doing it. But I knew in my soul, and it comes with a knowing that things are going to have to change in order for me to evolve. That's what was going to have to happen. And the ego has to get really, really clever. So I had to come up with even more reasons why it didn't need to be that way. But then it will slow everything down. Why don't I just do the thing that I'm really, really good at? And then everybody can see that I'm really good at it, and I'll get loads of followers overnight, and I'll just become a worldwide superstar. So I had good reasons for not changing the format of how I usually do things, but I knew that in order for me to evolve, I had to change the format. I had to be able to sit here and talk live on this call like this, or nothing would ever change. I would just keep doing the thing. Okay, right, okay, tick a box, tick a box, tick a box. My automatic reaction was to contract, and my soul kept asking me to expand. This is what I witness in my clients every single day of the week, 7 days a week and twice on a Sunday. I tell them every time they sit in front of me, they tell me their desire, they come into my program, they write down their desires, and then life throws up in front of them everything possible for them to vibrate at the frequency that attracts that desire into the physical manifestation of reality that's round about them. When you're sitting in this seat and you're witnessing it, it is unbelievable to witness. It's unbelievable to sit across from someone who has read out their morning manifesto to me and told me of their desires, and then like 3 weeks later they come on a call with a problem, and I'm just sitting there going, how amazing is your body? How amazing is God? How amazing is the universe? Because this rock has been placed on your path specifically so that you can show who you really are. And it's easy for me to sit in this chair and witness that and say to them, look, this is you're getting what you asked for. We're always getting what we asked for. You're going in the direction of your desires. You've just got to do the purification process on the way. And it's easy for me to sit there and say it to them, and they're the one that's, palms are sweaty and heart's racing. And that's why I put myself in these situations where I'm like, okay, I need to humble myself a bit and remember like all the times when I'm called to do the things that I don't want to do. To witness it, to witness the unfolding of there's no other word for it other than magic. It is absolutely magical to witness God's work through each individual that sits in front of me, because I know that the thing that's been thrown up to them that looks like a challenge is the manifestation in progress. That's the manifestation. This is the exact thing that you asked for. It just looks like the opposite of what you asked for, because that's the paradox. And if someone sits in front of me and they are having a challenge and they've told me of a desire and they don't currently have that desire in their 3D world, and then they tell me of a challenge, I can't begin to tell you how much my heart sings. I've got to stop myself from going yes on the call. Like I've got to be like, right, just keep a poker face, Ali. And I'm like, okay, that sounds challenging. And I come off the call and I'm like, thank you, God, for putting this challenge on that person's path. They're now going to be able to show you who they really are. They're now going to be able to evolve into the person that you within their soul has asked them to be. This is it. This is the juice. This is the exciting thing that's happening. And I sit there and I hold their hand, figuratively, because they're generally quite far away from me, while they walk this path that looks nothing like what's supposed to get them to there, but it's the very, very thing that is stopping them, that is going to no longer have them sit here. That is the basis of this week's theme. And if anybody has any questions that have come up while I've been talking about this, if you have any desires and along with that any challenges that are coming up and you'd like to discuss them with me, then now would be the time to start writing it. And then within the next couple of minutes, I'll be able to see them in the Q&A. And I will bring you on. If you would like to be brought on for a hot seat, then please write that, say I'll come on for a hot seat, and then ask your question. If you have more than one question, don't worry about that. You can just come on and you can just vibe with me, and we can get to the root of the real question together. If you would like to just ask a question that's just a question and not coming on and chatting with me, just write text only and then write the question, or write hot seat and then write your question, and I will for sure bring you on to chat with me. The title of this week's theme was "What got you here won't get you there." I use myself as a basis for that. Hopefully, as you've been listening, then you would have realised some parts of you that needs to change and needs to evolve and needs to expand. You might even have come up with some ideas through your body of times when you are contracting. So we've got a question that says text only. How do you know what's being asked of you is coming from the soul to evolve and not the ego? So it's a really good question. In the beginning, you won't know. That's the first thing to understand. And depending on where your frequency, where you're vibrating at and the emotional frequency is, I can't honestly sit here right now and say that I will always only hear my soul from now on. My ego hasn't gone anywhere. I've been on this journey for 6 years. My ego's just got stronger as the time's gone on, and the awareness of that and the understanding of that um is the greatest support for myself that I can have on this journey, and that I can tell my clients. The first thing, before we ask the question of how do you know if it's come from the soul or come from the ego, we first have to make peace with the fact that the ego, it will always be there. I think it's Carl Jung's quote that says the ego is the petri dish in which all alchemical transformation takes place. So your soul cannot transform. It cannot be alchemized into something bigger and better and more expanded without the contrast of your ego. So how do we know if it's the soul and not the ego? The first thing is to understand that you won't always know. The second thing is there are no mistakes. So if you believe it was a soul quest and it turns out to be a lesson, then you were supposed to take that lesson anyway. And it was a detour on your path. For me, when it's a soul, and a lot of people call this intuition, it's a feeling in my body. I just know it. It's a feeling. I quite often feel it in my solar plexus, and it's just a knowing. Now, I would bounce the question back to anyone here and say, think of a time in your life where you knew the decision, that were faced with a choice and you knew which choice you had to make, and you just knew in your gut and your intuition and your body, this is the thing that I have to do. It's a feeling. It's also a feeling that you can practice at. It's something that you can practice getting better at. Another way that I would describe it is ego talks a lot. It gives you lots and lots of different reasons why. It's yappy. It's like, oh, we can't do this because of that reason, that reason, that reason, that reason, that reason. Whereas the soul generally is just a yes or no. It's just a sentence. It's just a commandment. It's just a feeling through your body, and it's definite. Now, what happens is when your soul evolves and your ego evolves alongside it, because it has to, because the two of them have to evolve together at the same time, um, your ego might become more adept at pretending to be your soul. So I can't tell you how many times, in fact, it's happened a couple of times this week, where I've sat across from clients and I've asked them a question, and I'm like, so do you think that this is the way that this is gone? And they're like, yes, yes. And I'm like, okay, 100%, you 100% believe that to be true? Yes. Okay, 100%. There's no deviation from this. 100%. Right. Well, wait a minute. Okay, right. So do you see how strong the first yes was? It's like a full body yes, like this. Sometimes if the person answers too fast, that's an indication that it's the ego. because it's almost like it's got to jump in before the soul. I know that it's difficult for me to sit here and for you to hear me saying this, that I'm saying to you, there's no tick box that I can sit here and say to you that that's how you know it's your soul and not your ego. All I can tell you is that you'll know you'll know the first time when you've chosen through the soul, and you'll know the feeling every time you do it thereafter. There's little tricks that you can look out for from the ego. For instance, what I just said, it's too fast, it's yappy, it gives you lots and lots of reasons. You begin to know the feeling in your body of that's something trying to make me feel safe. Whereas I'm going to have to make the harder decision here. So I said before this call that I suffered a migraine a couple of days ago. It was the first time in like nearly 20 years that I'd had a migraine. And so my first my first ego instinct was to be like, oh, maybe I should cancel the call. And then even this morning when I woke up, I was like, oh, am I in the right place, mentally to do this? And then I was like, well, you've scheduled the call, get on the call and give it your all, give it everything that you've got. It might not be the best one that you're going to do. It was never going to be the best one that you're going to do because it's the first one you've done in this format. But at some point you have to do it anyway. I know the difference between my body, my soul, my intuition telling me you're not supposed to do this thing. Because to be honest, I've made enough mistakes with my ego to now know the difference between the two. So don't ever be worried about making a choice based on the ego and not the soul, because there are no mistakes, which is why I just did that with it. There are no mistakes. There's only choices that are, you're always going to learn. There's a choice of taking the path that feels the best for your expansion and therefore for the expansion of the whole planet. Even although sometimes you're going to have to push through fear to get to that. And then there's purification. That's the only other thing. Oh, right, okay, right. I listened to my ego on that. Well, don't worry. Your body is so intelligent. Your subconscious mind is so intelligent. The spark within you that is God, that you carry within you, we all carry within us, is so super intelligent that if you take a detour, you will get slapped on the ass and put right back onto the glorious path at some point. That's the beauty of it all. You're constantly being directed back to your highest path. So rather than how do you know if it's coming from the soul or coming from the ego, use your feelings as an indication. If you consciously choose the easiest path, it doesn't feel good to the soul. It doesn't, because your soul enjoys the challenge of evolution. It enjoys the challenge of change. If you're just comfortable, I mean, what's the quote? The comfort zone's a wonderful place, but nothing ever grows there. The very nature of our soul is to expand and evolve and grow and become higher and higher and higher, closer and closer towards God. It's our very nature. If we do anything that fights against that nature, i.e., do things to keep ourselves small and keep ourselves comfortable, the world will show you in full technicolor. You will not be allowed to just sit in comfort. You will be dragged kicking and screaming to the highest version of you. The easiest way is to go with intention and actually look forward to the things that challenge you, look forward to the things that make you feel afraid. One of the things I've been talking about, especially with my female clients in the past couple of weeks, is we're very much, we want to be the good girls, right? We want to get the gold star and the tick and the straight A and told that we've done well and that we've been good and we've been well behaved and we're intelligent and we're making everybody else feel comfortable. And when someone comes along, and quite often that person's me, and the women are sitting across from me in session, and and I'll point something out to them that's less than beneficial to them on their soul path. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it like that? Like, why did you say it like that? Why did you do it like that? The very first instance is a tightening of the body. Generally, the breath gets shallow. There's a tightening of the face. There's so many physical reactions to, wait a minute, you're telling me that I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble here. She's pointing something out that's making me seem less than perfect. And I've seen it so many times over the years. And recently I've been saying to my female clients, let's start looking forward to someone pointing out our imperfections to us. Let's start loving that. Let's be like, yes, do you know what? Doesn't feel good in the moment, but I know when I look at that and when I go and meditate on it and when I choose a different path, it's going to feel really, really good. We are so hardwired for being these perfect versions of ourselves that if someone comes along and goes, by the way, this thing that you're doing, it's not really helping you, then all of our defenses go up. We're like, what? No, wait a minute, this is the thing that's, got me to this place and kept me safe and kept me validated. And this is what I've been saying to my clients this week. Embrace that, look forward to it, welcome it in. And by the way, I've got to say it to myself a lot as well. There's still that version of me that likes to be right and likes to be validated and likes to be the best in the class. And just having someone hold the mirror up and be like, that thing that you're doing that's less than beneficial, and just being able to know that you're safe and know that you can make mistakes and you can be less than perfect and everything's still amazing and you're learning, and that is the expansion. If you're constantly right, if you're constantly the most intelligent person in the room, if you're constantly the best at everything, then where is your room for expansion? Where are you going to grow? You're just constantly getting everyone telling you you're amazing and pats on the back and look at you, you can do this so well. And by the way, this is the way I've lived most of my life. There's no growth there. There's absolutely no expansion. That's here. That's here mentality. We want there mentality. Guess what? See, when you get over there, to get from here to there, you're gonna have to hear some stuff. Over here, you're gonna have to look in the mirror over here and go, yeah, there's less than beneficial parts that I can't take over there with me where my desires live. So I'm gonna have to let her go. That does not feel good. It feels like death. It feels like your world is crumbling down round about you. It feels like everything that's kept you safe up until now is currently being pulled away from you and you're standing naked in the middle of the main road trying to cover yourself up. No, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We need to, as women, we need to start embracing that feeling, because we know that what comes after that is expansion. The best thing that we can do if anybody holds up the mirror and says, by the way, that's less than beneficial, it's not cool to behave like that, it's not helping you on your journey to this desire that you've told me that you've wished for a long time, is to thank the person that's shown you. It's like, thank you for showing me that. And when these things happen in our lives, these big life events that also shows where we're sitting in discomfort, sitting in a comfortable comfortness that is childlike and keeps us small. When these big life events happen, it's actually been able to go, thank you, God, for putting that on my path and showing me what I'm truly capable of. We can only evolve if we're not contracting. Like, that's it. We can only expand if we're not contracting. Contracting is, you can literally see the contraction in people's bodies when they are faced with something that they don't like. It's like their body like contracts. It's like this. Unless the lion's physically at the door, then we're safe, right? There's no lion cutting about this apartment block that I live in. There's nothing here that's physically going to literally take my life away. So everything else is just a story that I'm telling myself about a situation. And while I've got breath in my lungs and while I've got a fragment of God inside of me, I can create anything in my life. I can create any manifestation of any dream that I have, and I can change any situation simply by changing my perception of it. So that expansion that we're all looking for, it comes through the ego. It literally comes through the ego, because we have to feel the contrast of our ego not liking it to then be like, oh, okay, well, wait a minute, like I'm going to allow my soul to take over here. I've realised that I've gone down an absolute tangent, which is not the question that you asked, but which is what I do. So thank you for joining me on my first ever Wednesday workshop. I hope you've enjoyed it, and would just like to let you know that I'm going to be here every Wednesday at this time, which is 2 p.m. UK time. There will be a 60-minute segment of chat, and then there will be a 30-minute Q&A where you can do text only, which the ladies today have done, or you can come on and have a hot seat with me and you can ask me any questions about anything that we've talked about in the theme. There will be a new theme every week. Thank you for joining me. I will get better at this. I've done all right. Someone on here has said I've done absolutely amazing, not just okay on the first go. And I'm really looking forward to it. And it's not just my clients and you guys that are being asked to evolve. Of course, it primarily starts with me. And this is my evolution to the next level. And to me, manifesting the desires that I have and my morning manifesto, I have to take the next step, the next leap first. And it's this new format. There were a few little teething problems, but we will get them sorted in the weeks to come. So thank you.